Hey, this is Professor Triplet, and let's get started with this UV texturing situation. So this is for the extra credit. I have all the UVs selected, and I just want to show one thing, that I have a lot of UVs touching, and that's because in my settings here, I have shell padding as 0. So if you went with the defaults, which I did actually, you get basically a lot of the UVs touching, and you really don't want that. So let's go ahead and change that. So instead of shell padding being 0, I'm going to make it 2. Actually, it didn't pick that up, so let's just select that again. There we go. Let's go 2. There we go. And then hit apply. And then you'll see what will happen. It'll adjust a little bit, and now there's some space between everything. So that's pretty important when you're texturing. Okay, another thing that's important is we need to be able to get this image out so that we can see it in Photoshop. Alright, so this is more of an old school technique. I like to teach the old school techniques before I teach the newer stuff, and the reason why is because at the end of the day you may need to hand do some certain textures, and this will help you do that. So let's go ahead and just do a UV snapshot. So we go to image and UV snapshot, click on that, and then you'll be able to pick where it goes. So that's your browse right here, the file format. I usually use Targa. This size right now is 2048. I'll change it to 4096. So you usually use powers of 2. So the next size up is 4096. And I do not want anti-alias lines. Make sure that that is unchecked. So you don't want that. You actually want it to be hard edge lines, and the edge color is green, which is fine. Let's just pick out a good spot for this. So right now it's going into week 6 textures. Let's make it in, let's go up a couple layers here. And thank you, Maya, for having this nice and organized. We'll go into lamp lab, and we'll call this UVs. And then you still have to hit apply. So you should see something here on the bottom that says saved. And where you saved it to and what kind of file. So now we're good. So I've got Photoshop open. So let me jump over to Photoshop, and there's kind of like this is a little preview of the direction we're going. So we're going to be making something like that, which is a tileable texture. But for right now, I'm just going to minimize that. Let's open up our UV map that we just exported. So maybe we can get there faster. There we go. And lamp. And then we're just looking for a Targa file, which is this one right here. Okay, what did we get here? Okay, so I can't see anything. If you get really close, you can. It's just the green is really dark. So I'm going to show you a little trick. Go into your channels and control click on the the alpha swatch, and you'll see that you get selection ants coming out. And then from here, you can just make a new layer in your layers. So get to your layers tab and just create a new layer. And then if you want to paste in a layer of a certain color, I don't know, let's say red or something like that, you can bring the red there as your foreground color, and then you hold Alt and then hit delete on your keyboard, and that'll paste in a foreground color of red. The other way to also fill is to go to edit fill. That works too. Okay, so that does the same thing as Alt delete. So now you can see it. So we'll hit Control D, which is deselect. So no more marching ants. And now what we have is we actually have a layer we can hide that has just the UVs in it. Okay. So the other thing I want to do is I want to basically color coordinate between the different materials that are on this lamp. So basically for this, we're gonna have probably like 4 different materials. So if we pull out the reference really quickly, let's just get the reference out, and maybe this one too. All right, we'll look at this back piece right here. So here's our different materials. We have aluminum, we have galvanized metal gray. I believe this is a galvanized metal, but just like a different color, kind of a greenish color. And we have this acrylic. And then, you could say we could use a different kind of metal for other areas, but I think we'll just make everything else aluminum, just like this. And technically, I would say the base of the light bulb is probably some kind of brass, but I think we're not going to worry about that as much this time. We might do something like make that just aluminum, because I want to limit how many materials we need to get into. There is also this white porcelain type of material that's underneath here. And then in the front, if we select this object, let's bring it out. This is actually kind of like a chrome material underneath here, so we would want to do that too. But I'm not going to worry about doing everything perfectly for this. This is an extra credit assignment. I just want to show how you would get your texture started. So I'm not gonna probably go into how to do everything perfectly. So let's just we'll see how long it takes to get through this, and then if we have time, we'll hit as many things as possible. But I want to limit the length of this tutorial probably to about an hour max. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's get started. So what we want to do is anything that has a certain material on it, we want to actually apply that material. So I'm going to select this, the two acrylic parts, and for that matter, I could probably do the lights too. So actually, let's go ahead and we're going to move these down for right now. We'll grab these two as well, and I'm going to hit Control 1 so I can isolate those. Now these two, I'm going to go ahead and just move back up. I'll do that in a minute. So let's take all of these faces. Here, here, here. Let's see. Go into our face mode. Okay, so we want to go here. It's not liking me. So I'm going to just select these in here, because this will actually work better if I do it inside of the UV editor. So I'm going to grab all this stuff that's going to be kind of glass. So this one's there we go. Alright, so we got that. I don't know why this thing's giving me so much trouble. That. Okay, so all the stuff is selected that I want. Everything else would be some kind of metal. So this is all the acrylic stuff. I can come into here and say assign new material. And then I'm just going to pick a blend for right now. It doesn't matter so much what the material is in here, because we're going to eventually set this up in Sketchfab. So, so now I've got a blend on there. And in this blend, I'm going to name it M underscore. So the M stands for material underscore. We'll just call it glass, just for simple purposes. And for the transparency, I can actually turn the transparency up a little bit and maybe pull this eccentricity like this. It'll make the highlight a little tighter. Okay, so it'll be kind of more like glass, and that should do it. So now what we want to do is take this and this. Let's move these back up like so. And then while we're here, we might as well make the material for these pieces here. So I'm going to go ahead and go right click over it, go assign new material, and it's going to be a blend, and then I'm going to name this blend M underscore aluminum, like so. And I'll do the same thing with this one here. So face, just double click on those, and then you can actually right click over and just say assign existing material, and your aluminum should be in the list. So there we go. So now the aluminum set to both of those, and you can see our glass areas actually look like kind of like glass now. The viewport's trying to give us a representation of it. And for now, we can go back to object mode, hit Control 1, and we'll get our other objects back in here. So now we just want to pick all the objects that are going to be the particular materials and make sure we assign the right thing to them. So let's see. This is that galvanized metal. This is galvanized metal. This is galvanized metal. I believe this part is 2. Yep, that looks like it as well. So this will be 2. This thing underneath here will be. This will be. And I think we're good. Other than we really do need to isolate out this chrome piece here. So let's go ahead and just go Control 1, like so. So these are all of our galvanized parts, except for, so we'll go to faces, except for this. So now if we come into here, let's do it in here, we'll go assign new material, blend, M underscore galv. We'll call it galv. Okay. Now if I want to make a difference in this, so you know it looks a little bit different, I can like raise the color or something. Maybe change the eccentricity a little bit or something like that, so it'll look a little bit different than the other materials. And then while I'm in here and I've got this, I might as well just go in here and just say assign new material, and then we'll make this a blend as well. Call it M underscore chrome. Okay. Alright, so the chrome, I'm actually going to turn it like really dark, but I would turn the reflectivity really up. Now it doesn't matter so much in Maya, but if you were rendering it, you know, you would want the chrome to actually be kind of like black, and then have the reflectivity really high. And then in that case, though, you really need an environment or some kind of environment like HDRI to reflect off of it, because otherwise you won't get any cool reflections in there. Alright, so that should do it for that part. Okay, so now let's grab the aluminum parts, which makes up most of the rest of it. Let's see, this, all these. These little doohickeys, that's the technical term. And that one too. And I think that's good. That should do it. Okay. So all we have to do is the same thing. Control 1, let's just isolate it. That looks good. Go to faces. Make sure we have everything selected. Assign new material. Blend. And then we'll call this M underscore. Oh wait, I made an aluminum, didn't I? I think I did, so that was a mistake. Okay, so let me undo that. Control Z. Sorry if you're following along. Okay, so there, I just deleted the blend, so I got before that. Now I'm going to go assign existing material and then go to the aluminum. My bad. There we go. Alright. That's enough of that. Okay, so we got these pieces here, the parts that are basically green. Now, let's see, we'll grab that too, because that is as well. Let's look at it. Yep, that looks like it's about it. And in this case, we probably don't have to isolate it. We'll just grab this, come into here and say assign new material, blend, and then let's name it M underscore alum green. Actually, it's a galvanized green. There we go. Okay, and then we'll change the color. So just click in this here, and we'll try to change the color to kind of a blue-green that we see. It's probably a little bit more blue. Something more like that. Yeah, it's close. It doesn't have to be perfect because we're going to put a texture over it anyway. But so that will help to visualize everything. Now I'm surprised though that I'm not seeing the color here. Let's just double check this, make sure it's working right. Galv green, yes. On the whole surface. What's this guy? Alright, so I'm just going to delete the history on everything. So let me just grab everything. Edit, delete all by type history. So there we go. I don't know what was going on there, but it was fighting with something else, but now it's green, so now we can kind of see it. So maybe the aluminum can be a little bit darker. Let's go ahead and just, or one of these should be darker. Or maybe the aluminum's lighter. Maybe we go that route. Make the aluminum a little bit lighter, and then we'll grab the original galvanized. We'll actually make that a little bit darker, like so. Again, it doesn't seem to be updating. Not sure why. But actually, this thing is not even named the right thing either. That's strange. Giving it a strange name there. Let's just delete the history and see if it'll reset. This might be a bug that's going on here. But I'm not going to make too big of a deal of it because once I put the texture on there, it'll basically resolve. So, cool. Alright, so, well, the one thing that's nice is if you want to like export out a diffuse color map from this object, you can actually kind of map where all of your different materials are going to be, and that's what actually the direction I was looking to go. So until this updates for me, I can't really do that. So I could go a little bit old school and just kind of figure it out on my own. It's not really that hard. So we already have all the UVs exported, and I have an image of the lamp that I want to bring in. So I'm going to hit Control O to open. So let's go ahead and just get an image of the lamp in here. Actually, I think I'm in. I might be in the wrong file. Yeah. Okay, so I put those in a specific folder, a reference folder. So let's go into Lamp Lab Textures, and then here I'll open this up. So, silly me, I had it open. All right, let me hide these two. Let's just delete those. Okay, so basically, I took this picture, and what I was trying to do was find a good area that I could tile a texture from. So this is one of the pictures I took, and I figured I could basically get a tileable area from this section right here. Now you want to try to get, if you're doing pictures for textures, you want to try to get as flat of an area as you can. As you can see, if I was to go over here, it gets faded and it falls off, and that part of that's because I was using a certain kind of camera lens that has a low f-stop, and that happens, but it gave me good crisp results in the place that I wanted it. So we're good here. So what I want to do is I want to marquee this area off. So I'm going to go ahead and just select my marquee in my tools, or you can hit M. I usually go for the hotkeys. So I hit M, and then I hold Shift while I drag. So left click and drag out, and you should be able to get a nice marqueed area like so. And I'm just going to move my marquee a little bit so it's not touching any of these other parts here, because that will kind of interfere. So now that I've got just this area selected, I'm going to hit Control C, and then I'm going to hit Control N, which will make a new document. So here's my new document. Hit OK, and hit Control V. So I just pasted that into my new document. And then if I hit Control E, it will collapse that. So like all the stuff that I'm saying, all these hotkeys you have in your you can look at these in these different files. So like for layer, if I want to collapse this layer down into the background layer, all I have to do is come into here. If I see Control E, merge down. See, there you go. Control E, merge down. Okay, and so now basically what I want to do is I want to make this tile. So I'm going to take the original, drag it, and make a new layer out of it. All right. Before I make a tile though, I want to process this a little bit, because the fact that anytime you start tiling something like this, usually there's some leftover lighting artifacts I want to try to get rid of those, so I'm going to do something for that. But before I do that, let's actually look and see what it would actually look like if we tile it. So to tile, you go to Filter, Other, and there's this thing called Offset. Now, it helps if you know your image size when you're offsetting. In this case, we have an odd size, so it's not going to work perfectly, okay, but we can get something that's close. We can divide the number in half and tile it basically by half this number, or at least close to it. So then we're talking about 630 or so. So let's go ahead and go back to our filter, Other, Offset, and then we're going to dial in here 630. 630, so it should go almost to the middle. So that's the horizontal. So it's basically taking whatever was at the edge and bringing it out to the middle, and it's doing like a wrap of it, and then there we go. So now you can see we're basically right in the middle where we want to be. Now, the reason why I did this first is to show you how kind of the lighting changes over the whole thing. So I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to go ahead and do a high pass. So there's this tool called high pass in here. And what high pass is going to do is it's going to look basically based on how high of a pixel radius you tell it to, and it's going to try to balance the lighting based on this pixel radius. So if I make it really big, then it balances like a larger area of lighting. If I make it really small, you'll see it gets like super detailed. So it's like trying to balance a small radius of lighting, so it totally changes it, and you can adjust it as so. And this is actually a really useful tool for when you're trying to do texturing for games and stuff. If you want to get some more detail in your objects and balance lighting. So I'm going to go ahead and just lower this a little bit like so. I lost a little of the color by doing that, so what I can do is if I want to, I could actually like duplicate this, bring it on top, and then I can just change this to like a color layer. And you can see it kind of flattened out, so you can see if I go back to normal, how it's sort of, you see sort of more of a gradient. And then if I go adjust the color, it's only affecting the color. I like a little bit of the gray that I'm getting below, so I'm actually going to drop the opacity of this a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and name these here. High pass. Oops. I hit my cap locks on accident and I made it high pass. We'll just pretend that never happened. Okay. And then this is just a color. We'll call this color. So I was just bringing a little color in. Now, if I want to combine these two, I could collapse this into this, but if I want to keep them, all I have to do is hit Control A, Control Shift and C, and then that'll copy everything that this that you can see in the canvas. So it copies all, like any visible layer into a single layer, and then I hit Control V and I can paste that in. So now this is the same as these two layers together. So I'm just going to call this I don't know, I'll just call this new layer. New, how's that? All right, so now it's time to actually tile this. I need to make a duplicate, and let's go to Filter, Other, and we'll go Offset. And it should go based on the same settings that you had last time. So since we did 630 before, now it's still doing it. And I don't know if you remember from when we were first looking at this, there's definitely less lighting issues going on here because this is more even. So it's going to be easier to tile. That's one of the reasons why I go ahead and do this. Okay, so the first thing to do with this tile is we want to drop a mask on here, because what we need to do is we need to get rid of these seams that are in the middle. Okay, so to do that, we just get our brush out, so you can hit B on your keyboard. Make sure you have just like a simple brush with, maybe just a little bit of a fade onto it. So there's 300, let's see, that's 100, that's probably fine. Okay, and then what you're going to do is you're going to make sure that your foreground color is black. So when you paint black on a mask, what will happen is it will reveal what's underneath. So let's look a little bit closer here. Brush, and then right now I'm going to turn my brush all the way up to 100 as far as opacity. So mine was a little bit lower. But now when I click and paint here, you can see how what it's doing here in this layer is it's just making a black mask, and it's allowing what's underneath it to show. So if I hide this, you can see that there's just one area that just stays the same. Okay. All right, so we just want to mask out the seams. Okay, so then that way when we tile this, you won't see any seam like that. All right, so now this is a pretty simple texture to tile. There are much harder textures to tile, like if you're going to do something like brick. That gets a little bit more complicated. It could definitely be done, but it does get more complicated. Okay, so you notice I'm not going right to the edge, and you want to avoid that. So don't jump all the way to the edge. All right, let's see here. I feel like I'm missing some areas here. It's just, it's almost hard to see. There we go. I can see it now. It's here. Okay, and then there's some more here too that I missed. Okay, get close to the edge, but not all the way at the edge. And you should just have like a, looks like a little cross here in your mask now. So, and as you can see, like it kind of looks all like the same texture, but we're gonna make it even better. So the next thing I need to do is get my brush back out. And by the way, I'm zooming in and out, just hitting Z, and then I have my scrubby zoom on, so I can just click in and zoom in and out. So brush is B, and I can make my brush smaller by hitting my open brackets, which are right next to the P key. It's right to the right of the P key, if you're wondering. Now I'm going to hit F on my keyboard. It's going to expand this document so that I can move it around better. And now I'm looking for the center. It's really hard to see on this one. I can see it's like right here. And I'm going to get just right up to it. But not like, you don't really want to, you just want to touch that pixel right at the edge, but not go past it. Because you don't want to cause more artifacts that you have to paint out. So this one right here, same thing. Just get right at the edge with a small brush. And let's see, same thing here, like so. And then, let's see. Where is it? Alright, zoom out. Should be in the middle here, somewhere around here. There we go. So the high pass helped even out the lighting so well that it's almost even hard to see this tile. Okay, so we're doing good. We've got a good start. Let me hit Control A again, and then Control Shift C again, and then Control V. So again, I just copied everything in the canvas. So I copied whatever was on this first layer here, and then the copy of, well, this is the original below it. So this is now a combination of those two, and this should tile perfectly. So if I go back up to my filter and do another offset, you shouldn't see any seams. So no seams pop in. Filter, offset, no seams. Okay, but we have a problem, because when you're doing tiling textures, if you leave artifacts in here like this scratch here, or this, you know, these rust spots, some stuff you can leave, but if it's very prominent, it's going to end up, you're going to end up seeing a tile. So you kind of want your tiling texture to be somewhat generic. So what we want to do is we're going to stamp these out. Now there's a few different tools you can use. Of course, the original stamp tool is this right here. Usually it's S on your keyboard if you hit S. And then what you'll notice is that you can see like my brush is kind of showing this area, you know, like it's going to cover this up. Well, what that is that if I hold my Alt button, I get a crosshair, and anywhere you click, you can stamp from that area to this area. So I go and hit crosshair by hitting Alt, click right there, and then I can stamp like this. And here's, I'll prove it how this is working. So if I got this little black area here and I stamp that over here, so you can see how that works. Of course, we don't, this is the kind of detail we don't want in here. So we're going to get rid of that. But beyond the stamp tool, there's actually some other ones. Like there's this healing brush tool. And the healing brush tool works really, really well too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click out here, and I'm just going to kind of go like that. And the healing brush actually blends back in. But I think I need a little less hardness on this. So we'll go like that. So I just right click to get that menu up. So hold Alt, click out here where you want to heal from, and then it'll just blend it in for you. So that's a really nice tool. Okay, and here's another one too. There's actually a few tools that work sort of the same. So then there's the spot healing brush. It sort of works the same. You can kind of click on that and you can see it just gets rid of some of the artifacts. Okay, I don't like this one as much though, so I'm going to actually undo those. You also have your patch tool. This one's kind of cool. So you can actually draw like a marquee. So I'm just making a circle, and then you can pull this out like so and hit Control D, and look at that. It basically you can basically pick exactly where you want to sample from, and it will do a blending for you. So that's always nice. But for this one, I think we're just going to go with the healing brush. I'm just going to click out here and just go like that, and you can see it just gets rid of that line, because that line is just going to look bad. And some of these spots, some of them might be okay, but I'm going to play it safe and get rid of a lot of them. Okay, so we'll just do this to this line. And if I go right to the edge, I'm going to have a problem, so I'm just getting close but not right on it. Okay, I can see right there, there's kind of this, I have a similar shape that I had over here. Actually, it's the same shape, it's just it's been tiled over there. So I'm going to get rid of that, but I'm going to get rid of a few of these spots here before I finish. So okay, let's do this. You want to pick different areas too. Don't always keep using the same area. So I keep holding Alt and then just clicking. Alright, that. Let's see. There we go. Okay, that looks good. Okay, now how do I get rid of this? Well, let's just do the offset again. So hit the offset, and so you can see it's right there. And then just get that healing brush out again, like so. Stamp brush works too. You can use any of them that you like. That's fine. There's no rules on which one you have to use, as long as you get the job done. Okay, so now I've got a pretty decent tiled area. So this should work pretty good. Now I can come into here into Edit, and I can go Define Pattern. And then I can call this metal, we'll call it lamp galv, actually. Lamp metal galv or something like that. Like 01. So watch this. This is really cool. I'm going to make a new file, or new document, and let's go make this 2048 by 2048. Okay, and now I'm going to make a new layer. I'll just fill that layer with my foreground color. I'm going to double click on this layer right here. That's going to bring up my layer styles. So in here you have your pattern overlay, and just click on it. So you can turn it on, click on it, and then you can go to this drop down, and whatever you placed in here will come into here. Now you can see this is a larger document, so this is actually tiling over this a number of times. And what I can do is actually scale this, make it bigger, make it smaller. You can see, now you can kind of see the tiling going on if you look closely. But this is a pretty good tile texture because it's not looking too bad. Even in this, when I tile it a bunch of times, it's not looking bad at all. So that's basically what we're going to use to tile over a lot of the surfaces in this lamp. So I'm going to go ahead and hit cancel for now, because I don't need that anymore. That's just, I just want to give an example of how that works. So I can close this. Alright, so now we have this. Let's save it out. Let's make sure we save this. And this is the, let's see. Oh, I don't want to save it there. Let's save it to the right place. Okay, we're almost there. Alright, so let's save it here. So I'm going to call this 02 actually. Okay, and this one was, let's see, let's close that. I want to make sure I don't close anything I need, so I'm going to close that. You know what, I might need this for this up here. Yeah, I might as well leave that open. So okay, so now that I have this pattern stored though, I can close this until later, so I won't need it right away. And I'm going to go ahead off camera and basically just do the same thing with this. You know what? I'll keep everything on, but I'm just going to do it really fast, and I'm not going to really explain what I'm doing. I'm just going to go through it so you can see the process again. So you'll just see how I get these textures out of here. Okay. Alright. So high pass, even out the lighting. Okay. Duplicate that, bring it on top. Add this as a color. Interesting. I think this needs to be, I'm going to do a little levels on here. So I will explain a little bit. I'm just doing some levels here to make this darker, because I think it's too light. There we go. That's probably a little bit better. Maybe something like that. Okay, so alright, so we'll take these two. I'm gonna just Control A, Control Shift C. There we go. So now that's all pasted together. And then what I'll do is just duplicate this and then do my offset. So it was almost at 512. I'm actually going to change my texture size to 512. Control Shift I or Control Alt I will tell you what size it is. It's 515 and 512 is a power of 2. So that's good, and it's only a few pixels away, so you can see it barely moved. So that'll just make my life easier, so when I go to other offset, I can just set this to 256, which is half of 512. 256. Okay, and see that little bit in there. We add a mask, we get our brush out, and zoom in a little bit to make sure you got black on the foreground. And just start getting rid of this stuff. Like so. There we go. Not too bad. Should go pretty quick. Okay, so back off a little bit, take a look at what you got. I kind of don't like the rust in here for this one. I know it's more realistic, but if I was doing something, like if I was really doing this, I would take it in the Substance Painter and I would add that rust in manually. So I might drop the rust out. Let's see here. Yeah, because the rust is going to cause this a tile look. You can see right here, you're already seeing one tile. So to drop the rust out, one thing I can do is I'm going to go ahead and put a layer style on here, or I should say a layer adjustment, and I'm going to put a hue saturation, and I'm going to switch it to colorize, and then see if I can match back up that color I already had. Let's see here. Somewhere in here. Let me go ahead and just, I'm going to put a marquee in the middle here and paste in black right there so I can see through and I can see what the original color was. This will help me adjust. So let's down the saturation a little bit. There we are. Now we're getting close. Up the saturation. No. Okay, so that's pretty close. What I can do is then just disable the layer mask, and let's just say I want to get a little bit of color in here. Control V. I'm just going to paste that color back in. I'm going to turn this. Actually, is that working? I think I'm pasting the wrong thing, and let me hide that. So Control A, Control Shift C. So that's the tile texture I just copied. Control V, and then I'm just gonna lower the opacity a little bit. just to get a little bit more color in there. All right, hopefully that works good. If not, we could always come back and make more adjustments. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and make this. I'll just double check it first. So let's just Control A, Control Shift C, Control V. That's everything pasted together. Now I'm going to go ahead and go layer, filter, offset. Yeah, that's tiling correctly. We should be fine. Although, what do I see there? No, I guess that's okay. Okay, so then all I have to do is set this as a pattern. Edit, define pattern, and then we'll call this lamp galv green, something like that. And I'm going to show you a way to do the aluminum. Let's see here. So what we would want to do for the aluminum, the aluminum's a little bit more generic, so we probably want to go back to our original texture and open that file. Okay, so what I had to do is search for an aluminum picture from the lamp, and this is what I came out with. So I'm going to go ahead and tile this, but I'm going to do this off camera because you know they're processed now. And I actually found even a better picture of this this green here, so I might actually do that and get a second one that will probably look better. So I'll come back and start doing that in a minute.